Guys, today we're gonna make this super cozy cowl. Take a look at this stitch. So cozy and amazing. Let's get started.
Here's everything you're gonna need to knit the cowl. Grab a skein of yarn. I'm using Wool and the Gang Crazy Sexy Wool. This is 100% wool. It's a super bulky weight yarn and it's definitely on the thicker side. I am using 12 millimeter 16-inch circular knitting needles. You'll need a stitch marker, a tape measure, and a pair of scissors. We're gonna start by casting on 36 stitches very loosely. We need to make sure our cast on stitches aren't too tight. You can just wrap the yarn around the needle about 10 times to figure out how much yarn you'll need for about 10 stitches. And then I usually just take this and use that as a measurement. So I'm gonna go, that's 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna round up to 4. I need to cast on 36 stitches, but I'm just rounding up to 40. So at the end of that point, I'm going to tie a slip knot and put that on my needle. Again, not too tight. I have my tail in front of me and the part of the yarn that's attached to the skein behind me. I'm going to take the yarn and grab it like this, making sure the tail is around my thumb and the other part of the yarn is around my index finger. I'm going to rotate my hand so I can grab the yarn around my thumb and slip that. I'm going underneath that yarn. And then I'm going to turn my hand back and grab the yarn around my index finger and pull that through. So now I have 2 stitches cast on my needle. I'm going to continue doing this. This is the long tail cast on. Right, I'm done casting on all of my stitches loosely. I'm going to join in the round now, being careful not to twist my stitches. So I like to lay my work down and make sure the cast on edge is laying flat inside the work. I've got my stitch marker handy. I've got my 36 stitches cast on, but I'm actually going to cast on 1 extra that we will drop. And we're just using that to join the work. So my work is flat, not twisted. I'm going to slip that first stitch on the left hand needle with my right hand needle over to the right needle. Then I'm going to slip that last stitch, that last stitch over the slip stitch that I just moved over, and then I'm going to release and drop. I'm going to pull this tight. Now I'm going to place my beginning of round marker on my needle. And now we're going to start a 1 by 1 rib by knitting 1, purling 1 all the way around. Knit the first stitch, then purl the second stitch, and repeat that all the way around. So I'm going to do my last knit stitch and my last purl stitch for my first round. And once I hit that beginning of round marker, all I'm going to do is slip that marker over, and now I know I'm on my second round. So we're going to continue round 1, the round we just did, knit 1, purl 1. We're going to continue this for 2 more rounds for a total of 3 knit 1, purl 1, or 1 by 1 rib rounds. I'm finishing up my 3rd round of 1 by 1 rib. I'm now complete. Now it's time to begin the honeycomb stitch in the round, and our first round is a knit 1 and knit 1 below. So I will show you what that looks like. And so you knit 1 stitch and then you knit 1 below, which means you're knitting actually in the stitch below. So instead of inserting your needle here, you're going to insert the needle in the stitch below, creating kind of like a double stitch. So you'll insert your needle and knit that stitch, pulling through and releasing those stitches. So you basically have 2 stitches on the 1. So we're going to repeat that. Knit 1, knit 1 below. Knit 1, knit 1 below. All the way around. I hope you're enjoying making this cowl, but before we go any further, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor of this video, Craftsy.
If you're like me, always wanting to learn new craft skills, then Craftsy is the place for you. Craftsy is an online community of makers just like you and me with endless inspiration to help you really take your craft skills to the next level. Not only are there a ton of knitting and crochet resources, there are so many more things to choose from painting, from drawing, even baking and cooking. There are over 2,000 classes for you to take. With step-by-step instruction from award-winning instructors, you can learn at your own pace. The classes are great because they're broken down into short, really easy to follow lessons, so it's perfect whether you're a beginner or a really experienced crafter. I've been watching videos while I've been working on my knitting projects, which is perfect. I've taken a fabulous course on how to shear sheep and spin yarn, and this 7 days of drawing course has not only inspired me to jump back into something I used to love, but has retaught me fundamentals that I've lost. I'm also looking forward to sewing this canvas travel bag. I've been itching to learn more about sewing lately too. There's just so much to learn. The best part about all of this is that the first 1,000 people to click the link in the video description can get a full year of premium Craftsy membership for only $1.49. If you're curious, click the link in the video description to learn more. Please know that this is a Black Friday offer and is only available to new members. Okay, let's get back to this cowl.
I am just finishing up. My first round of the honeycomb stitch. Knit one below. So you're knitting below into that purl stitch from the previous round. Now I am going to work on round 2, where we purl one and then we're going to purl one with the slipped stitch. So this is what that looks like. You slip your beginning of round marker. I'm at the beginning of round, so I am going to purl one. Now I'm going to purl one with the slip stitch. So this was the stitch in the previous round where we knit one below. So when we knit one below, we're going to have this extra stitch with our stitch, and we're going to purl that with our purl stitch. So we are going to purl these 2 stitches together. So what I like to do is just to lift that stitch that is slipped from the previous round up onto the needle with that stitch that I'm going to purl, and then I insert my needle and purl those 2 stitches together. So it's purl one and purl one with that slip stitch. So I lift that up and purl this together. Purl one, purl one with the slip stitch. I'm finishing up my second round, ending on a purl one with the slip stitch. And I'm going to slip the beginning of round marker. Okay, I've just finished round 2 of a 4-row repeat. This is a 4-row repeat. So now we're going to start on round 3, which is a knit one below, knit one. So we're going to knit one below this stitch and knit one. Knit one below, inserting my needle down here instead of up here. Knit one below, knit one. Knit one below, knit one. I'm at my last 2 stitches, so I'm ending with a knit one below, knit one. So I've just finished round 3, and now we're going to finish the 4th round in the 4-row repeat, which is purl with that slip stitch, purl one. So we're going to find that stitch that's slipped over, lift that up, purl those 2 stitches together, and then purl one. Purl one with that slip stitch, purl one. Purl one with that slipped stitch, purl one. Again, I just want to zoom in on the stitch that I'm picking up here. It's this stitch that's like draped over. Purl 1 all the way around. Finishing up my round 4 with purl 1 with the slip stitch, ending with a purl 1. So we've done round 1 through 4 repeat, and it's kind of hard to see the stitch pattern right now, and just know that the stitch, it actually takes a lot of rounds to get length, because when you pick up that stitch below, it shortens the stitch, but it makes it super thick. So I'll show you what it looks like after doing one more 4 round repeat, and I'm just gonna briefly go through the 4 round repeat again. Round 1 now is knit 1, knit 1 below, knit 1, knit 1 below. Round 2 is purl 1, and then purl 1 with the slip stitch, picking up that slip stitch below and purling those together. Purl 1, purling with that slip stitch. Round 3 is knit 1 below, knit 1. Knit 1 below, knit 1. Round 4 is purl 1 with the slip stitch, and then purl 1, purl 1 with the slip stitch, purl 1 all the way around. If you're on rounds 1 or 3 and you're not and you put the work down and you pick it back up and you're not sure what you're supposed to knit, you will always just simply knit into a previous double stitch, and then you'll knit 1 below into a stitch that wasn't doubled, that wasn't slipped before, or knit 1 below before. So that will be knit 1 below now. So if it looks like it was previously knit together, you'll just knit 1 and then knit 1 below in the stitch that wasn't doubled. So thought I would show you a little trick. Similarly, if you're on rounds 2 or 4, one of the purl rounds, and you're not sure what stitch to do, you can see that you should just do a regular purl stitch if there's no double stitch. So that's just a regular purl stitch, and the double stitch purling with the slip stitch will happen when you see that extra stitch. So don't be worried if you do put the work down. You should be able to figure out where you are and what stitch you should be working. I've worked the cowl now, and I've just finished a round 4, and the work is about, is just under 7 inches or so from the cast on edge. I'm measuring from the cast on edge to where my work is. It's just under 7 inches, which is perfect. And again, you need to end after a round 4. So work rounds 1 through 4 until the cowl measures just under 7 inches. I'm finishing my round 4 here. I'm going to slip my stitch marker, and I'm going to knit round 1 one more time, and this is setting us up to complete the 1x1 rib to finish off. So we are just going to knit 1 and knit 1 below all the way around to finish up our cowl before we begin ribbing. So repeat around 1 one more time. Okay, I'm finishing around 1 now. I'm going to slip the stitch marker, and I'm going to start the 1x1 rib again, and I'm just going to knit 1, purl 1 all the way around. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. all the way to the beginning of round marker. I've just completed the first round of 1x1 rib. I'm going to slip the stitch marker and complete one more round. So we're doing 2 full rounds of 1x1 rib, and then we're going to bind off in pattern. Now I've completed 2 rounds of 1x1 rib. Now it's time to bind off. So I'm going to slip the stitch marker and start binding off by working the first 2 stitches in pattern. So knitting 1, purling 1. And now that I have 2 stitches, I can start binding off. So I'm going to lift that first stitch that I knit over the stitch I just worked and drop it. So we've just bound off a stitch. So now you're just going to continue working 1 stitch and binding off. So I'm going to knit and bind off. I'm going to purl and bind off. Knit, bind off, purl, bind off. So I'll see you back at the end of the round and show you how to finish up and weave in your ends. And just remember to bind off kind of loosely so the work doesn't become too tight at the top. And just wanted to reiterate one more time how important it is to bind off very loosely at the top of the cowl so you can comfortably get it over your head. I'm nearing the end of my bind off. And there again, remember to try to bind off kind of loosely. Gonna end with a purl stitch, bind off the last stitch, and I have 1 remaining stitch. Now I'm going to cut the yarn. My needle fell out here. You can just pull the work through, and then you can take a tapestry needle. I put the yarn through the tapestry needle, and we're just going to connect the beginning and the end of the round here. I'm going to go in like this, go back around and come back through and make sure I end up on the inside of the cowl. And I'm going to weave in the ends by just following up one of the stitches on the side here. And just going to follow through here, make sure it's really woven in well. Follow one more stitch. Take off my tapestry needle, and I'm going to snip the yarn. And then you can weave in the other end, your cast on tail as well. I'm going to bring this back through the inside of the cowl and follow another stitch through. Cut the tail. And now we have our finished cozy cowl. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and I will see you in the next video.